Thieves are targeting trains and trucks across the country, sometimes with violent showdowns taking place between drivers and conductors. Now consider that everything from the latest sneakers to medicine are transported by highways and railways, and the cost isn't only safety, but your total at the store. Investigator Josie Sturman discovered there's little being done to piece together those crimes.
Setting off sparks, grinding locks to gain access to trains, and slashing brakes, risking derailments.
It's organized crime at the highest.
Rail bandits ready for battle, armed with assault weapons.
When you see something that brazen, how do you react to it?
Well, I think it's terrifying, and it's greatly concerning.
These are sophisticated, high-stakes cargo thefts, disrupting rail and putting lives at risk.
It is an economic issue. It is a supply chain issue. But this is a human issue, too.
And it's not just a problem for rail. Organized multinational crime rings are also targeting commercial trucking.
Police department, if anybody's inside, let us know.
Our national investigative team filed records requests across the country, obtaining police body camera footage, photographs, incident reports, and court files from cargo thefts involving trucks and trains.
Well, they took almost everything.
Yeah.
We discovered police footage that shows thieves snagged thousands of dollars in Beats earbuds from this truck hijack from an Arizona truck stop. Pictures that detail a ransacked tractor trailer in Colorado, picked clean of more than $1 million worth of Nintendo gaming consoles. Court records that outline a cargo theft spree across Georgia and Virginia, netting robbers nearly $2 million in copper and electronics. Evidence videos from a case outside Phoenix that capture brazen thieves taking selfies, dressed in tactical gear and carrying what looks like a grenade launcher. And one incident report that details shots fired near a conductor in a Memphis rail yard as boxcars full of Nikes were broken into. Another burglary in that city captured on surveillance cameras. Thieves stopping their efforts just long enough to punch a defending truck driver right in the face.
I think that our industry has been shy about talking about cargo theft because nobody wants to know that their cargo, their freight, their truck got hit.
Chris Spear, president and CEO of the American Trucking Associations, says he can't afford to be silent anymore. Neither can his main competition in transportation, Ian Jeffries, who leads the Association of American Railroads.
Historically, we may have worked, in parallel, but not necessarily arm in arm, and we've taken a new tack this time around.
Moving together to try to crack down on a crime that experts tell us is often handled as either an insurance claim or a one-off criminal case at the local or state level. The FBI does lead some regional task forces and tracks voluntarily submitted data, but we discovered there's no specific nationwide coordination on cases at the federal level.
It's something that goes well beyond most companies' ability to combat, which is really why we need stronger leadership by the federal government in coordination with the state and local governments.
Both rail and trucking believe a piece of legislation in Congress can help, the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, or CORCA. It would create a national coordination center within Homeland Security to deal with cargo theft, sharing information between industry and law enforcement, tracking trends, and providing new tools to investigate and prosecute cases.
This is a tidal wave that's going to hit the country because we're not looking at all the things that are bubbling up to create the wave.
A wave that could potentially leave trucks and trains vulnerable to cargo thieves who see a clear path straight to the bank.
Now, according to the FBI data, last year alone, there were nearly 6,000 commercial cargo theft incidents across the country, with property valued at more than $150 million. And if you have a story, we do want to hear from you. You can call us or email our investigators at the address and the number you see there on your screen. We'll look into interview issues for the next Factfinder Investigates.